All right. Okay. So I'm Fergal. I work in Tokyo with user as well. And I work on BF Cache. And this is not exactly BF Cache related, but actually unload is a big enemy of BF Cache. And so if we can provide APIs that allow people to stop using unload, we can increase our BF Cache hit rate. So we have this proposal. Okay, so what problem are we trying to solve? And actually, Ian has presented this here before, but now we have a much more concrete API and a much more concrete proposal that we're close to starting to implement as well. So the problem is the problem of beacons that people want to send reliably when the page, at the end of the page, basically. So a beacon is something that sends but doesn't care about response. Pages want to send something at the end. So for example, CLS or other full page performance metrics, ad impressions, or anything else, any other data that maybe it's better to accumulate over the lifetime of the page and send it at the end rather than trying to send it continuously all the way through. Problem is that there is no right time. Unload isn't always fired. Page hide is fired, but you might come back again out of BF Cache. Visibility change is again another point where you might try it, but again, it has the same problems as page hide. And also then existing transports have reliability issues as well. So the existing navigator send beacon and some other things are not always working so well, not guaranteeing to deliver something. If you really care and if you really care about your data and you don't really care about the user or their battery life or data consumption or whatever, and you can beacon continuously, right? And just sort it all out on the back end, right? But that's bad for everyone. But I mean, you can think of that as a mental model for what someone could do already, right? If they wanted to. If you're trying to figure out if we're adding new features or new risks to the platform, bear in mind that this is what someone could do right now, is just continuously send data back. So the proposal is that we let pages set data for a beacon, and that the browser ensures that it gets sent. It sounds really simple. So but that's kind of about the size of it. And that the timing is pretty much after the page is gone. And there's an explainer here, and there's a discourse for leaving comments. So I'll talk a little bit about. Here's an example using the API that we've described. So you create a beacon, you attach data to it, and that's it, right? In this example, it's the simplest possible example. The script loses a reference to the object it just creates, so it can do nothing about it. This will send after the page has, actually I've said after unload, I should say after the page has been unloaded. It does not depend on the unload event. If the page goes into BF Cache and then just times out, it will still send it, right? Probably, I guess it's kind of implementation dependent or not, but if the page crashes, we plan to make it still send the data even after a crash. So here's another example where you create a beacon, you set some data on it, you keep it around, you set some data again later on, maybe your data has changed, you're accumulating CLS stuff or something like that, and so you're always keeping your beacon up to date. If you did nothing else now, when your page goes away, you would send your latest data, or you can stop it, right? You can decide, oh, I don't want to send that at all, right? You can deactivate the beacon. So this is the full API. Some attributes here: URL, method, like get or post. State tells you whether the beacon has been sent or is sending or has failed. The reason why we have a state is because we've also added this page hide timeout. Page hide timeout says, actually, I want you to send this beacon at the end of the page when the page is gone, or this many seconds after page hide. Right? So basically, like Firefox, I think will put a page into BF Cache for up to 45 minutes or so. I think we measured at one point. And people may not want their beacons coming in 45 minutes after the page has gone into BF cache. They may want a shorter time limit on that. So the page hide timeout is there for that. Get data gets your data back again. Set data updates your data. Send now says, yep, send this now. Just don't wait till later. Beacon is only ever sent once. So you send now, that it means it won't be sent again later on. And that would change the state. And also, if you use the page hide timeout and you go into BF cache and you send it while you're in BF cache and you come back out again, the state will be sent, will be set to sent or failed or whatever happened. And then there's deactivate to stop a beacon. So some implementation details as well, like extensions should be able to block these just as they can with any other network requests. When exactly that will happen, like how we're going to do that is a bit tricky, because if the page is in BF cache or unloaded completely, then the extensions right now might have a kind of be surprised to see that they have a network request that they have to think about related to that page. So we may have to do something else there. It's not clear exactly what we'll do. And yeah, when an extension blocks the beacon, how does the page, should the page know, and how does it know, is another question. And then surviving crashes and restarts. There's an interesting, so surviving crashes is fine, like a renderer crash, to use Chrome terminology. If the render process crashes, then the browser process is still alive and it can deliver the data. But if the whole thing crashes, or if you just quit Chrome, or quit the browser, it's not going to have a chance to send all of those beacons. Well, it could, I guess, but seems unlikely we would just send a load of beacons there. So we would send them when you restart. And this is actually I think the one new capability that this adds, or new kind of risk that this adds, which is that if we decide to survive across restarts, then you might end up sending the beacon from a different network than the network you were on when the beacon was set and when the page was loaded and all of this stuff. This is actually a problem, or an issue with the reporting API currently as well. In Chrome or any browser that has implemented reporting API survival over restarts. I'm not sure which other browsers, if any, have. So that's the only, that's the only new not new capability, but the only thing that is different, or from a page that was just somehow just like beaconing all the time, for example. And so I think, oh yeah, I had a couple of questions as well. So I'm not the person working on this project. So actually, when I hadn't read the spec for a little while, I was curious as to whether people think we need just a general timeout on the beacons, and whether we need an event to tell you that the state has changed. And that's everything I was going to